It's that time of year again, folks. We've had the best of the best drop this year, and wait, I remember this from somewhere. Hmm. Ah, just like my intro, most of these games are recycled, rush, pieces of trash. That's right, this is the worst games that I've played in 2023. Admittedly, I actually played a lot of really good games this year, which is actually a first for me. I love a bad video game that makes you want to rip all your eyeballs out and jump off a bridge. Yes, this is the worst games that I've played in 2023. Without further ado, let's stare at this heaping shit pile. Number 5, AEW Fight Forever. Honestly, this game is more disappointing than bad. AEW Fight Forever dropped after years of speculation and delays / drama. They even removed Cheeseburger Phil from the box art. I've been playing this game since day one, and I still go back to it. I do like this game. I'm actually in the middle of platinuming this game, but why is it on this list, you might ask? Well, you can complete the content in a couple days. The career mode takes 2 to 4 hours to complete. There are a bunch of branching paths in the career mode, but your win-loss record or who you choose as a partner just doesn't matter. And that's really disappointing because they do have like 4 or 5 branching paths, but it seems like it all just leads to the same destination. Admittedly, I have only beaten this game once or twice, but I've had completely different win-loss records and I choose different tag team partners, and I ended up at the same fatal 4-way match with Omega, Moxley, Jericho, and my character, which does make sense because those were the 4 pillars when this game was being developed. Not to mention, the menus in career mode fucking suck. There's 4 options. You can train, eat, explore, or wrestle. I do like how you can wrestle dark and rampage matches. If you pick train, then you have to wait 10 to 15 seconds before you can skip the inevitable cutscene. And yes, you can do matches, but you have an energy bar that depletes anytime you train or wrestle, so you have to eat something. It's needlessly boring. Not to mention, if you pick an AEW wrestler instead of making a KA, all the RPG elements are non-existent. They go out the window, so there is no need to wrestle extra matches or train. I mean, they are there, but they are just meaningless. So, what else is there to do? Well, you can pay Ukes more money and get a simple tower mode, plus a couple wrestlers. You can play the weird BR mode that's actually kind of fun. Or you can wrestle random matches, online or offline, where, to be fair, the matches in this game are the best part of the game. They are really fun, especially when you crank up the difficulty. It's almost like a chess match when you play the game on hard or elite. But like everything else in this game, it comes with a massive caveat. The matches are fun, but there's not enough gimmick matches to keep you playing. There are your regular matches, your lights out matches, your ladder matches, your casino battle royale matches, your exploding barbed wire death matches, which that's actually my favorite match. I said match way too much that sentence. Where's the cage match? Where's the backstage brawl? Where's the Texas death match? Where's the coffin match? Where's the gauntlet match? What? Where's the trios match? There are so many matches that would have been fun and that are staples in AEW programming. There are some creation options, I say some very loosely. I've seen more character customization in Call of Duty or Battlefield games. I'm not putting this one over. AEW Fight Forever has so much unrealized potential, yet it is one of the biggest botches in pro wrestling game history. It has some of the best wrestling I've seen since WWE 2K14, but everything else falls flat on its face. I really hope that they can recover this for a 5-star Frog Splash. 1, 2, 3. Number 4, Starfield. Starfield is one of the poorest excuses for a AAA or quadruple A video game. I joked with my friends that I was ready for this game to disappoint me, and I was excited for Todd Howard to run off with my money like a snake oil salesman. I wasn't being serious. I was very much joking. I was excited for this game. I've been waiting like 10 years for this game. Let me paint this picture. I played 20 hours of this game. I found out through a TikTok that you could have magical powers if you progress enough through the story. I thought this was a troll poke or a mod until I played one more mission. I immediately deleted this game because it comes out of nowhere. There's no indication that you should play more of the game or the story. It just kind of throws it onto you. And I feel like it should have done something like Breath of the Wild where it doesn't let you progress until you finish those missions. But that's not even the worst part. The gameplay flow is horrible. Let me take you through a regular gameplay session. So you open your map and you fast travel to a star system, which prompts you to a loading screen. And then you open your map again to warp to a planet, let's say New Atlantis, which gives you another loading screen. Then you open your map again, which lands on a planet, and then you get another loading screen. Then you walk, or more like run, to the subway car, and guess what? Another loading screen. Then you go to the lodge and you get another goddamn fucking loading screen. Just for the quest giver to spout out some exclamatory dialogue at you and then repeat those steps all over again and kill the bad guy just to come back and repeat the process. This isn't even the worst side quest. There are some side quests where you literally just have to scan fucking rocks on a planet. Does this sound fun? Does that sound fun at all? There are like 5 planets that are recycled at tedium. The game's combat is also so boring. It's the same combat from Fallout 4, which I love that game, but that was almost 10 years ago. Damn. I'm old. The guns are also so boring and vanilla. It's a sci-fi game. I don't want a pistol and an assault rifle. I want a cool space blaster. The space combat is also so bad with clunky controls. The OG Battlefront 2 space combat puts this game to shame. This is a full-price Bethesda game that they just shat out. It's not just that though. I've never played a game with such a low carrying capacity. Even in Fallout 76, which is a game that's designed to hold your inventory hostage so you pay them more money. It feels like this game is just severely imbalanced. And I get there's a lot of shit in this game, from all the guns to all the periodic elements that I haven't thought of since I was 16 and studying the periodic table. But God, I am tired of getting over encumbered messages and having to jetpack all the way back to my ship because I couldn't carry a simple rock. The enemies aren't much better. Picture raiders from Fallout, but in space. That's 90% of the enemies. I just don't understand. What were they thinking? You're in space. The most you can think of is human raiders in space? Where's the cool aliens? Where's the interplanetary war? Where's the facehuggers? Where's the intrigue? I genuinely believe Fallout 4 is technically and creatively head and shoulders above this game. I don't even like Cyberpunk, and that game dates Starfield by at least 10 years. I'm not sure if it's the engine or Bethesda, but the way missions and quests are given out is so 2008. The quests are spatted out at you, and you either take the quest or you don't take the quest. It doesn't even feel like an RPG anymore. There are barely any skill checks. Your choices barely matter in the quest or the grand scheme of things, and the class you choose has no effect on the world, aside from maybe a few nods here and there. By contrast, another game that came out this year, Baldur's Gate 3, they mention the slightest detail about your character in important story dialogue. I played as a tiefling, and an NPC brought it up in some important main quest dialogue. If Larian Studios can do this, Bethesda can sure as shit do this. Even the original Mass Effect games put this game to shame. It feels like Todd Howard just wanted Fallout in space, which is fine, but Fallout had actual world building to flesh out the universe, not to mention thought out gameplay. I have another example that sums up why I hate this game perfectly. I found a museum on how humans colonize space, and it was the most interesting thing about this game. And more importantly, it made me want to check out Earth. I didn't even know this universe had an Earth. When I got to the Earth, it was a barren desert with no life or really anything. That sums up this game perfectly. No creativity, no wonder, just an empty pit of disappointment. They couldn't have added an Easter egg from Fallout or Skyrim or anything interesting. Starfield would have been mediocre in 2010 or in 2008. It's even worse as a full-price game in 2023. I will now cry as I spent $300 on the collector's edition. Fuck you, Todd Howard. Fuck you. Number 3, Redfall. Oh man, Bethesda with another published banger. There's a few absolutes in the gaming industry, like Obi-Wan once said, only a Sith deals in absolutes, but that's kind of an absolute. But one of the absolutes in the gaming industry is if you know very little about a revealed game and they say, hey, this game's coming out in a few months, run. I feel like I didn't hear anything about Redfall since its cryptic reveal trailer, and then out of nowhere, it just came on Game Pass? Published by Bethesda, who has published bangers like Wolfenstein Youngblood, Fallout 76, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the aforementioned Redfall. We knew that we were in for a banger with all those titles. All jokes aside, I had high hopes for it, as Arkane's name's attached to it, and they have a pretty good track record. I thought it was going to be a mix of Dishonored and Deathloop mixed with some vampire hunting. It doesn't sound that bad, right? But what we got was a buggy excuse for a AAA shooter. A looter shooter at that is using the goodwill of its former games like CDPR did with Cyberpunk. I don't have a lot of experience with this game, mainly because when I first played it, I was so fucking confused. Like, why is this game running at a mere 15 frames per second? I'm not joking either. It was so bad, I restarted my console 3 times, and then I Googled it and realized, nope, that's just the Redfall experience. It just works. If I've learned anything from my years of blindly supporting Bethesda, it doesn't get better from here. Before we talk about the bugs, let's get into the gameplay. You start on a crash boat after a bunch of weirdly animated comic book cutscenes, which, not the first time we see those animated cutscenes. Almost immediately, you get given a gun and enemies to shoot without any real reasons on why you should shoot these cultists and why they're bad, which is sad because the imagery here is actually pretty breathtaking and impressive. There's this seawall with a darkness taking over the sun or the moon. I couldn't tell which. But back to the gameplay. The shooting is just fine in this game. Everything just feels amateur. I don't know how to explain that any further, and I hate to sound like an asshole, but the gameplay just feels amateur, like an early access game that you would find on Steam for like $15 to $20. Your character always feels like they're floating, not walking. Another way this game feels amateur is in its shooting mechanics. The guns have the power of the Bethesda Studio Gamebryo engine. They lack punch, power, and funny enough, innovation. To be fair though, the sound designers did a really good job with the sound design in this game, and they really deserve a pat on the back on that. I just don't understand how this happened though. Deathloop had its flaws, but it was a really fun game, and it had really inspired gameplay. The guns had weight and impact. The game made you feel like you were shooting from a real powerful gun instead of a Nerf gun. The guns you pick up are as uninspired too, like, this is a fucking world with vampires. Why am I shooting from generic shotgun set? The UV guns are actually pretty creative, but from what I've seen, that's where the unique weapons stop. Granted, the UV guns shoot out light rays that could pass for temp VFX, but hey. The AI in this game is another much to be desired aspect of the game. The enemies just stand there and watch you shoot at them, no thoughts in head. In some of the clips, you can even see it if you look closely. I legit stop and wait for them to kill me. I think I die from old age before they eventually kill me, which begs the question, how did they take over this planet? But the weirdest part of this game is you die rather fast. So if they do manage to hit you, you're not far from death. It's a weird balance that I've actually never seen in a game. I will say the vampires are a nice touch and are probably the only cool thing about the game. My problem is that they are very abundant. If you're traveling, running around from checkpoints, you are gonna run into them more than a few times. I get that they took over this world, but it's not special if you constantly see them and are killing them with ease. A lot more effective way to do this would have been event encounters or hard bosses like dragons in Skyrim or Deathclaws in Fallout. Also, why do the vampires look like the glitch power arm from Fallout 76? Easter egg, perhaps? The vampires as an enemy are completely broken. They serve as more of a meme than a hulking vampire, and the world feels like a very dark open world, boring, bland, and ugly. A Matt Rife stand-up is more original than anything in Redfall. Although, while I was playing it, I could see how they were trying to make the game interesting. I think if they had a little more time, this would have been a pretty special game. But you know, Bethesda's gonna Bethesda. They are gonna tank the perception of a well-respected developer so that they can push out another half-baked buggy mess that they can fix later. Ugh, they haven't learned anything from Fallout 76 or Starfield. Also, if you want Starfield, I got my copy for $15. I know it was on sale a little while ago for $10. I know that's very overpriced, but you can usually get it for pretty cheap. Number 2, Bayonetta 3. There's a theme here. I recently played through all the Bayo games, and after I finished with the second one, I immediately jumped into Bayo 3 because I was expecting a big payoff for the cliffhanger that was at the end of Bayo 2. What I got was a husk of its former glory, any gamer's worst fear with a cliffhanger. Like I said earlier, there is a pattern with these last 3 games. So I rushed to complete these games in order to see if they were any good or not. I did happen to read that there was a new team that was working on this game, which I understand that, but why not just make a different game? This game feels as Bayonetta as Call of Duty. The game is to begin with you watching Bayonetta die, which is kind of confusing. Then you start as a new Bayonetta. It's unclear how different this world is. It just seems like a costume change. After some time of fighting generic robot monsters, you find out that, I don't even know what to call him, is trying to destroy all the universes so he can remain in the one and only universe. His motivation actually isn't even told. You have to read the lore in the game. Who thought of this? Who thought this was a good idea? You have to go from world to world to save the Bayonetta, which, spoiler alert, they all die. It's never impactful because we don't know anything about these characters or have any connection to these Bayonettas, but they are treated like a character that we've known for years and years. I will say, some of them do have cool designs, but like we see in Overwatch, a cool skin can only take you so far. The game tries to do a weird No Way Home, Spider-Verse, multiverse kind of thing. It just doesn't work for Bayo, especially when they set up the perfect game in Bayo 2. Throughout the game, we play as Bayonetta, Jean, and the origin of a lot of gamers' rage, Viola. Now, I do get the rage. She not only doesn't belong in this game, but she feels vastly different from every other character. And in not a good way. The best way I can describe her is she plays as Dante from Devil May Cry, but in a Dark Souls game. You can tell she doesn't belong in this game at all. Not to mention, whenever I hear her voice, I want to pour acid down my fucking ears. You also get multiple currencies, which you can spend on upgrades, but the upgrades are so horrible in this game, I just avoid them with every inch of my body. Every weapon in this game also has its own skill tree and abilities, and even if they share the same perks, you still have to gain those points again and unlock those skills. It's the biggest waste of time. Why do you have to acquire the same skill multiple times? Like, it feels like they just want to waste your time. Also, none of the weapons are fun or good, so I just stayed with the old reliable Bayonetta 1 or 2 weapons. But the weapons are the only good thing, as the enemies that you use them on are the most boring, stale enemies. I just don't understand how they fumbled this. What happened? In Bayo 1 and 2, the enemy designs were so inspired by mythology, and they genuinely looked cool and unique, and it gave a certain uniqueness to the Bayonetta franchise. In Bayo 3, they are just weird gel cyborgs? Like, what? The most boring enemy. Bayo always had the coolest boss fights. But the most they devolve into this game is like these weird button mashing segments. The only good enemies come from the heaven and hell trials that you can do in the game, but that's because they're just copy and pasted from Bayo 1 and 2. It's not just the enemies, it's everything from the game. Looks horrible. It looks like they just darken the palette to hide the rush graphics. The fact that a Wii and Wii U game looks better than a Switch game is fucking sad. You can summon demons, which surprisingly looks pretty cool. There's like a Godzilla one, there's a fairy mommy, there's a fire spider, a train, and there's a few more. But unfortunately, you need to hold LZ the entire time that you attack and click buttons. If you let go of this at all, the summon just retracts. Who came up with this? It is so clunky. One of the only positives in this game is just absolutely ruined. I have to play this game with like the claw method from competitive Gears of War 3. Just play Bayonetta 1 or 2. This game just feels like a fan project that just doesn't understand the source material rather than a payoff to the end of the series. Number 1, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Pokémon Company is the largest multimedia franchise in the world. With all those resources, where does it all go? Clearly not towards their gaming division. Scarlet and Violet is a lot more like Redfall, with one exception. The game actually has a lot of potential. You can tell the devs that were working on this game really wanted to create a game worth playing. They wanted to make meaningful changes towards the game series, but just like Bethesda, the Pokémon Company needs a new game out every year. The game was released in a buggy, broken mess to the point where it still crashes and has bugs to this day. About 6 to 8 months ago, they released postcards. You can send it to the Pokemon Go app in exchange for Gimmighoul coins, and Gimmighoul would be a perfect representation, actually, of the Pokemon Go company. Anyways, this caused entire saves to be wiped from Scarlet and Violet. How? How? Why was this not tested more? To my knowledge, the bug still occurs, which causes me to never touch the game ever again, especially because until recently, they actually didn't have a Pokebank, so you couldn't even back up your Pokemon. The Pokemon Company never really updated us on what caused the bug or why it was happening. They did announce a new regionals and a DLC pack, which is nice, I guess. I honestly think this game would have been a really beautiful game. It does the Breath of the Wild thing, where like it has you stand on a cliff and it pans out to the landscape, which is honestly really funny in retrospect because all the shadows and environments just pop in and out and the environments look as smooth as icy Coca-Cola on a hot day. This was their first attempt at like an open world Pokemon game, like a true first attempt, and it's fine. You can do the gyms and other trials in any order that you please. I do like the change in formula because Pokemon has gotten stale in the last several years, but you can actually do them in the wrong order. I accidentally did the middle ones first and the easier ones last. So that caused the first few hours to be hard for a Pokemon game and the last couple hours to be so fucking boring. I think in future Pokemon games, they should have indicators to how challenging the gym or trial is going to be. I would speak about the trials more in depth, but they are so fucking boring. You pretty much just complete a test and then you fight a car? No, seriously, you fight a car. You can also make sandwiches to boost abilities, but honestly, it looks like an early 2000s CD-ROM game instead of a game that came out in 2022. The fact that this is a full experience that's over $100 plus, if you want both games, it's like $200 plus, is fucking insane. Don't touch this buggy, broken mess. Well, folks, that was the worst games that I've played in 2023. Let me know what you thought of my list and my opinions in the comment. Also, what are the worst games that you played this year? If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe. Sorry for the poor video quality. I just got laid off in November. I don't have a lot of money to spend on like a great 4K capture card. So I just bought a used Elgato. I only have this great mic because I used to be an audio engineer. Well, I still am. But I'm an audio engineer, so I just have equipment. If you want to help out the channel, please share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. And thank you. I'll see you guys in the next one.